My niece Clara was staying with me in Vermont for the Christmas holiday. She was 6 years old, with boundless energy, and an affection for me that was pure and uncomplicated. I treasured our time together. The town's annual tree lighting, a tradition we were both excited for, was cancelled by an early, vicious storm that blew in without much warning. The whole evening felt like a wash, but I was determined to salvage it for her. I suggested we go pick out our own Christmas tree, a last-minute adventure to make up for the cancelled festivities. We bundled up in our warmest gear and stomped the 4 blocks to the local church lot. The roads were completely deserted, blanketed in a thick, fresh layer of white. The world seemed quiet and still under the falling snow. For Clara, the shin-deep powder was an invitation to play. She treated it like a grand adventure, racing ahead of me, her little boot prints making neat, happy indentations in the untouched snow. I followed behind, keeping a watchful, yet relaxed distance, just enjoying the sight of her pure, simple joy. The tree lot was a small, flickering beacon in the swirling storm. A string of floodlights, powered by a noisy generator, cast a warm glow over the rows of pines. The air smelled of fresh pine and gasoline. It felt like our own private little world. I saw a small plywood shed where you paid, and I started a conversation with the young man working there. It was just idle small talk, the kind you make with strangers about bad weather. We probably spoke for 15, maybe 20 seconds at the most. It was nothing. But in that brief moment, the world shifted. When I looked back towards where Clara had been playing among the trees, she was gone. I don't mean hiding or wandering off to another row. She was just absent. The space where she had been standing was empty. A cold dread, sharp and immediate, shot through me. "Clara!" I yelled, my voice sounding thin against the wind. I started walking quickly, then running, down the row of trees. All I saw was empty space and swirling snow. My heart was hammering against my ribs. Then I saw the tracks. Hers were there, small, skipping, playful, just as I remembered. But beside them, another set. These were deep, adult-sized and deliberately paced. They walked side by side, my breath caught in my throat. Both sets of prints headed out of the lot, away from the safety of the lights, toward the curb. At the edge of the road, the distinct prints dissolved into the slushy, muddy churn of tire tracks. A car had been waiting. My eyes scanned the street, desperately searching. And then I saw them. Across the intersection, under the sick amber glare of a lone streetlight, stood a man. He was tall, wearing a thick coat with the hood pulled low, hiding his face, and Clara was beside him. He wasn't holding her high or dragging her, he held her close to his side. His arm was down, but I could see his hand clasped tightly around her small wrist, low enough that from a distance it might have looked casual. It was a horrifying parody of a father and daughter out for a winter walk. "Clara!" I screamed her name, a raw, primal sound torn from my lungs. Her head snapped around, her little red hood slipping back to reveal her face, pale and scared. She saw me. The man stopped. He didn't turn fully, just paused. I screamed again, my voice cracking. "Let go of her! Clara, come here now!" The man did not react. He just stood there, his body angled slightly away, looking at me over his shoulder. I was getting closer now, running as fast as I could through the heavy snow. I was close enough to see his face, or what I could of it. It was pale, with a patchy, scraggly beard. But his gaze was completely blank, utterly devoid of emotion, of panic, of anything. He looked through me, not at me, as if I were just an expected obstacle, a minor delay in a pre-planned route. That detached coldness was more terrifying than any rage would have been. Clara started struggling then, small, fierce tugs against his unyielding grip. She was fighting. When I got within 5 feet, she gave one last, desperate yank, and her hand slipped free. She bolted straight into my arms. I dropped to my knees in the wet snow, catching her. Holding her so tightly I could feel her tiny body trembling with shock and fear. I buried my face in her coat, just breathing her in, trying to convince myself she was real, she was safe. When I finally looked up, my heart still pounding, the man was just walking away. He wasn't running. He didn't even glance back, He was just walking, heading toward the opposite sidewalk with a terrible, unhurried calm that made my blood run cold. He was going to get away. And then I saw the second man. He stepped out from behind a bus shelter, emerging from a blind spot I hadn't even registered. He had been waiting there the whole time. The first man walked right past him. There was no eye contact, no nod, no communication at all. It was a quiet, seamless, and horrifyingly professional handoff. They just turned and walked down the dark street side by side, two shadows disappearing into the storm. It was planned. This wasn't some random opportunist who saw a child alone for a few seconds. This was a cold, calculated, two-person operation. The police arrived quickly. After a while, huddled in the warmth of the police car, Clara finally found her voice. She told the officer that the man had approached her and said he needed help finding his lost dog. A classic textbook lure. Then she added the detail that still sends a shiver down my spine. She said, "I didn't like how his eyes looked." Even at 6 years old, her intuition had screamed at her that something was wrong. The officer's response burned itself into my memory forever. He told us this was a pattern they were seeing. Two men working in tandem. One person, the charmer, makes the initial approach. The other waits nearby, ready to take the child if the first person is compromised or confronted. The entire goal is to scramble witness accounts. It creates confusion about the suspects' descriptions, their height, their build, which way they ran. It's all intentional. It's a strategy. I look at corners differently now. I see shadows where there are none. And Clara, my brave, bright Clara, she flinches when the snow starts to fall. That moment, the man's calm, emotionless face, the chilling sight of the second figure waiting in the shadows, it proved a terrible truth. The greatest horror isn't always the sudden, violent attack you see in movies. Sometimes it's the methodical, cold-blooded and meticulous planning of cruelty. It's the quiet, patient predator that terrifies me most. Stay safe out there, and always, always trust that feeling in your gut. Thank you for listening.